Good morning, everybody. My name is Cousin Tara, and to begin today, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners on all the lands on which we find ourselves tuning in from today. No matter where you are in Australia, we each owe a great deal of respect to the Indigenous peoples who have lived here for many tens of thousands of years, way before settlement. I would like to pay my respects to the elders of these communities, past, present, and emerging. The topic of care, giving care, providing care that brings us together this week is fundamental to Indigenous ways of life. Whether it's kinship care, thank you, someone just said good morning, hello. Whether it's kinship care, care for country, care for the land, water, sky. So it's appropriate that we acknowledge the people and the culture who have laid the foundations for us to come together and care for young carers today. We are honoured today to be joined by a number of young carers who have taken time out of their busy schedules to share their stories and contribute to the visibility of young carers today. A number of you tuning in work to support young carers. We thank you for the important work that you do and hope that you find the information, stories, and resources shared today helpful in your work. Young carers are people under 25 years of age who provide unpaid support to a family member or a loved one with a disability, mental illness, alcohol or other issues, chronic illness, terminal illness, or age-related conditions. They're often juggling school, work, and other commitments with their care role and often have to prioritise caring for their loved ones. Many carers don't identify as carers, however. It's just something that you do. This is something that I thought as well. And it was only very recently, looking back, that I realised that I had been a young carer for most of my adolescence and now well into my 20s. I won't tell you how far into my 20s I am. I'll leave that to your imagination. When I think about the quiet and enduring strength required of young carers, many of whom don't realise that they are young carers, it's so apparent how key it is, particularly for us present today, to build our understanding so that young carers themselves can understand the role that they play. So, how do we care for our young carers? Well, Carer Gateway is a support program available nationwide. Through the Carer Gateway, young carers can access counselling, peer support programs, and a chance to connect with other young carers. They can access support planning, carer-directed packages. These are flexible individual funds to meet the needs of young carers in relation to their caring role, education, employment, breaking down social isolation, or connecting them with the community in a way that's based on their individual needs. Importantly, the Carer Gateway isn't a means-tested service. There is no citizenship, residency, or visa requirements. Through research, we understand more comprehensively how being a young carer affects the young carer's life. This statistic hit home for me particularly. For example, 2 in 3 young carers have a mental illness. Yep. Young carers often feel isolated from peers and lacking time for themselves. Yep. But there are even more staggering statistics that should give us reason to pause. We know that 50% of young carers live below the poverty line, and that having a caring role can impact school retention. Many young carers don't finish school. These are grim figures, but we also know that being a young carer provides that person with a suite of incredibly valuable, though hard-won qualities and skills. Research has established that young carers are often incredibly resilient, mature, highly empathetic, have excellent time management skills, organised, and are very skilled at building strong relationships. I can't say that I'm particularly organised, but I am proud that in my role as a young carer, I've absolutely been gifted many of these attributes. Maturity, well, I'm going to share some of my material in a second, and you can judge whether or not you think I'm all that mature. We'd now like to present you with a short video featuring the story of a young carer named Chelsea, who shares her experience of the Carer Gateway.
I was a young carer from the age of 10. I'm now 25. So I've been a young carer for 15 years. That's most of my life, really. You don't really hear of younger people calling up to make appointments, or a younger person going to be as a support person. So I'm a young carer for my mum. So for instance, my mum, she suffers memory loss. So I would have to really try and remember what happened in that appointment, and really listen to what was next and what to look out for and what to do. I've been able to talk to people who understand, who have been able to give advice and be there knowing where to start, and that's literally picking up the phone. Make the call because you've got nothing to lose.
Make the call, you've got nothing to lose. A really important message there from Chelsea. Now, before I talked about strong relationships, I think in my darkest moments, when the cup that I tried to keep full for others was empty, my friends were my rock. And many of us now, I think, are feeling even more isolated than we have been in the past. So I want to ask you one question. Would you be my friend? If so, listen up, because there are some ground rules. I've got a bit of music to liven your morning. Friends, don't let friends drink and drive. Friends, don't let friends ride their bike without their light. Friends, don't let friends wander home alone. Friends, don't let friends hog the microphone. Friends, don't let friends wear Crocs. Friends, don't let friends wear Crocs with socks. Very important. Friends, don't let friends get chased by killer clowns. Where are they coming from? Friends, don't let friends get trapped in the upside down Stranger Things reference. How do you take your Devonshire tea? Cream on the jam or jam on the cream? How do you take your Devonshire tea? Cream on the jam or jam on the cream? How do you take your Devonshire tea? Cream on the jam or jam on the cream? Cream on the jam? Well, that's Cornish tea, you butthead. I take it that way too. I just don't call it Devonshire. It's just not correct. It's not correct. Friends, don't let friends have sex without protection. Very important. True friends will remind you to vote in each election. Friends, don't let friends get a butterfly tattoo. Friends, don't let friends get sunburned at the zoo. How do you take your Devonshire tea? How do you spell hyperbole? If you're a true friend, then you'll clap with me. If you're looking for a friend, be a friend to me. Come around to my house, you can pat my dog. Now we're at my house and I don't have a dog. I just wanted a friend and most people like dogs. Please don't leave, I don't want to be alone with myself. Hey, dabba dabba ba dabba ba ba. Di-di-di-di-ba-bo. Yeah, cool. So I hope I cleared that up, and now we're all friends. That's how it works. That's how it works. Now, I don't have the general reception of the audience, so you're very welcome to applaud in the chat. I'm sure I can hear it. I can hear it from all over. It's true. Friends don't let friends wear Crocs with socks. This is it. Thank you. you know, and in this time, I know wherever you're tuning in from, the global pancetta has affected you in some way. And I think what I really miss about meeting in person, particularly with events like this one, is the food, right? You know, it's just, there's something really good about sharing a plate of little triangle sandwiches and, like, you know, a fruit salad amongst friends. So what I want to do right now is take you back to a time, I suppose, where, you know, where we could enjoy and share in the little things. Hello, little fishy, nestled ever sweetly. Your keeper's tucked you in so you can sleep with all your little twinsies. So many baby fishies, safe behind the glass for all to see. I've given you names but can't tell you apart. I visit you daily from my metro apartment, frozen in time, static in space. You face your life here in this unlikely place. Your skin is hard, translucent, your red nose ever prudent, for supping on the juices you contain. I squeeze your little tummy, a condiment for sushi, and discard what is left of your remains. What will become of your skeletal form, washing out to the ocean, lapping upon the shore, a mountain of fishies devoid of their source, translucent and still, no life, no remorse. I really want to bring everyone together today. So I'm going to invite you all, from wherever you are, from behind your screens, to blurble with me. Do you know how to blurble? It's really simple, I'll show you. Sorry, I just gotta pucker my lips a bit, hold on. Oh, wherever you are, I can hear it ringing through the Zoom. Or you can do it without your finger if you want. Oh, wonderful, thank you everybody. I dreamed of swimming with you through St. Colin's Arcade, cascading all the shoppers and the purchases they've made, suffocating seabirds and businessmen alike. Bury me in tiny baby plastic fish tonight. Bury me in tiny baby plastic fish tonight. Thank you. Well, I sneezed in a little. I sneezed in? I did. I didn't sneeze at all. I squeezed in a little bit of a sustainability message there. You might have noticed. Anyway, back to our scheduled programming. So if you want to know how to refer young carers to the Carer Gateway, you can call the number 1-800-422-737 Monday through to Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can also go to carergateway.gov.au, the website where you can request a call back and find out how Carer Gateway can help you. I'd now like to hand over to Evan Wallace, the statewide partnership coordinator at Merry Health Carer Gateway, for the first panel about the new program offered by Little Dreamers, who are delivering a peer support program for young carers through Carer Gateway funding available across the state.
Oh my goodness, that was brilliant. Thank you so much, Cousin Tara. And I can see lots of love coming through on the chat box. So everyone, I know that we can't be there in person, and I just think that we should just send a lot of love through that chat for Cousin Tara. I really love the music there. And Cousin Tara, you even got me in a musical mood myself, or you were playing along before. Got my clarinet out.
You have so many talents. I'm finding out today. That's delightful. You and I, when all kind of returns to a semblance of normality, we need to have a jam. We need to.
Anytime. It was really nice. I was just like, I had my clarinet out while you were singing that last song, doing my own blurbling with the licorice stick. And
I'm so delighted to hear that. If only our audience could have seen that. If this was live, okay. But if it was live, you wouldn't have had your instrument there.
No, that's right.
So,
it would have been ready to hand. Exactly that.
This is it. Well, thank you so much, Evan. I'll hand over to you now, and I will see everyone in a short while.
Hey, thank you so much, Cousin Tara, and thank you everyone also for being here as well to give it up. And that was just brilliant, and looking forward to hearing a bit more from Cousin Tara as we rock and roll along through today's discussion, looking at Carer Gateway and how we're working with and connecting with and supporting young carers. As Cousin Tara mentioned, on this first part of the panels of this morning's session, we're really going to look at one of the programs that's being offered by Little Dreamers. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Little Dreamers, I'll tell you a bit about them. They are Australia's leading young carer organisation. They're supporting young people who care for family members with a chronic or mental illness, disability or addiction across a range of direct support programs. They're doing it both in person and online. And Little Dreamers is improving the quality of life of young carers across education, employment, mental and physical health, socialisation, and financial well-being. And they're really, really committed to ensuring that every young carer is supported by someone or something by 2030. Excellent goal, and really love that the work that they're doing through the Carer Gateway. So we have two wonderful speakers on this panel. We have Nat Court, who's the State Carer Gateway Manager at Little Dreamers. Tell you a bit more about her in a tick. And then also Tennille, who is a young carer. So Nat, who after a short stint at a commercial law firm, decided that wasn't really quite her cup of tea, and moved into the not-for-profit sector to use her experience and that background to improve the quality of life for others. And from there, at Little Dreamers, she's grown in the organisation, and she works as the National Carer Gateway Manager. Super, super exciting, or the State Carer Gateway Manager, I should say. She is passionate about creating the best outcomes for young carers and making a positive impact in their lives. Outside of work, Nat loves all things sport. She's a very, very happy Melbourne Demons fan and has played soccer competitively for the last 10 years. And for Tennille, she's 18. She lives in the eastern suburbs of Melbourne, and she's a Year 12 student. So big, big thank you to Tennille for taking the time out of what must be an incredibly busy stretch at the moment with exams and squeezing everything in this horrible, tricky period with emerging from lockdown back to campus straight into exams. So Tennille, thanks for that. She cares for her 16-year-old ASD brother, Lockie, and she's passionate about her caring role and young carers advocacy. So my first question is for Nat, and Nat, really keen to hear a little bit more about the program and Little Dreamers itself.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Evan, for the introduction. So the peer support program, it's a free service for young carers that are registered with the Carer Gateway. It was initially meant to be run as an in-person program, but due to COVID, we have adapted it to be in an online format. So it currently runs online for 8 weeks across Zoom, and it covers themes around finding community, connection, and belonging. The program, it provides a space for young carers to share aspects of their caring role with one another where, of course, they're comfortable to do so, but also look inwards, what sort of things will help them as opposed to the person they care for to live a good life. So it's a great program, if I say so myself, and I would highly encourage anyone on the call to refer any young people that they think would benefit from it.
Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much, Nat. And then for you, Tennille, how did you get involved in the program? How did you find out about it all?
Yeah, so I contacted the Carers Gateway, and the lady on the phone, she put me through to Little Dreamers. And I was contacted by a family support worker who suggested the program to me and thought it'd be a good fit. So I got in contact with the peer support facilitator named Alison. And yeah, she got the whole thing organised, and I got to meet all the people in my group and the other co-facilitator as well.
That's brilliant. What's it been like? Tell me, how's the experience been for you? What's it been like connecting with other young carers in the group?
Yeah, it was really awesome. I didn't have any other friends or family who were also young carers, so it was really important to me to meet other people in similar situations. I think it just makes you feel a bit less alone. You relate to some other people, and yeah, it was truly really awesome.
And everyone's coming in from quite different locations too.
Yeah. There was one person in the group who was quite close to me, and another one 4 hours away in regional Victoria. So I think it was really awesome that it was an online platform as well, because it means that people who might not have other young carers in their area, they're able to connect with other people around the state.
That's awesome. I think definitely one of those upsides of, well, what's been a really, really tricky period of time, that some of those physical boundaries being able to, yeah, evaporate a little bit, and connecting with people from further afield. Just thinking about the experience for you, Tennille, just thinking big picture, how's it made a difference in your life participating in the group? I know that you said that you didn't have those connections so much before with younger carers, but thinking about it a little bit more broadly, what sort of difference has it made in your world?
Well, I think the number one difference would be the friendships I made. I'm still in contact with a number of people from the group. So, you know, we chat about all sorts of things, even unrelated to caring. So, yeah, it's just really improved my well-being. I think being able to connect with others, that's very important to me. So, yeah, it truly did a big part in my well-being.
Awesome, love it. Come back for a few more questions in a tick, Tennille, but I just want to ask Nat, how do people get involved? So is there eligibility criteria? Who can actually participate in the group, Nat?
Good question. So it's currently available in certain areas of Victoria, but we're going to be gradually rolling it out across the whole state. So eventually, young carers in every corner of the state will be able to participate. As Tennille said, we have carers from all over the state participating in programs. So we would encourage you, anyone on the call, to refer any young carers across, as we will be eventually offering it across the state, and those young carers will be accessed and contacted when the program's available in their region.
Oh, cool. And do age groups or does age make a difference in terms of what group people participate within?
Yeah, so it's available to young carers that are aged 7 to 25. We split the groups into certain age ranges. So the activities that we run are catered to the specific age levels.
Nice one. Thanks, Nat, and thanks for being part of today's panel and being here for today's event. Tennille, a little bit more about the sessions themselves. Tell me, what do you actually do in the group?
Well, because it runs over 8 weeks, every couple of weeks we focus on a different topic. So, for instance, we worked on identity, we worked on our emotional well-being, and we also worked on becoming like a bit more separate from our caring role, because I think as young carers, we can become a bit absorbed in that world. So it was really important that we worked on our becoming our true own individual. So yeah, we did lots of things, and we did really work on well-being, and we always touch base about that every session, trying to fit more time in for self-care activities and things like that.
That's brilliant. And it sounds as though you've really enjoyed it and appreciate it. So you'd recommend it to other young carers?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I would definitely get involved.
Great. Really, really good. That's so, so awesome. Tennille, thanks for spending a bit of time chatting with us. And just want to make sure that we have all the details correct for people who are tuned into today's webinar or might be watching it later. Now, just again, how young carers can access the peer support program?
Yeah, sure. So they can access the program through the Carer Gateway, which they can do by calling the 1-800 number. That can be found just by Googling the Carer Gateway. Any service providers that are on the call and would like to make a referral on behalf of a young carer, or have any specific questions about the program, please don't hesitate to contact me. I'm happy to answer any questions and give you a bit more information on how to refer anyone.
That is so good. And as you can see in the chat box, if people want to call the Carer Gateway, it's 1-800-422-737. Thanks, Sophia, for putting that in the chat box there. And thank you, Nat and Tennille, for your really excellent sense as to how everything's going and within the program, and for telling us a little bit about how it's been connecting with other young carers and giving that great recommendation for the program. Wonderful to hear about it all, and thanks for being here. And if people have any questions, just put them in the chat box and I'm sure we'll be able to get a great answer back to you as well. Thank you, Nat and Tennille. All right, everyone.
Thank you so much, Evan. Thanks.
Thanks, Nat. Thanks, Tennille. Okay, folks, so we've heard about the Little Dreamers program. Now I want to get a bit more local focused. So one of the great things about the Carer Gateway is that we have a whole range of different partners and different organisations who are making sure that the Carer Gateway works as best as possible for young carers across the state. And one of those organisations that I really, really enjoy working with is Ballarat Health. And Ballarat Health provides support for carers and young carers in Ballarat, but also all the way out into Western Victoria as well too. Essentially, if you're following the Western Highway and going through Horsham and onwards, you'll see support being provided by Ballarat Health. So a bit more about Ballarat. They work with about 250,000 individuals, that's their catchment area. And the Carer Support Service team, it's part of the community program of broadly the Ballarat Health organisation. And they have a proud history of supporting carers in the community for over 24 years. Now, on this panel, you're going to hear from Raj, and I'll tell you a bit more about Raj in just a moment, who's the manager of Carer Support Services at Ballarat Health, and also too from Grace, who is a young carer from Ballarat. So here's what you need to know about Raj. Raj has worked at Ballarat Health for close to 13 years, and he's had a bit of a journey there working in home care packages and linkages and packaged care admissions, but he's been leading the Carer Support Service team and doing a great job at it since February 2020. What's really interesting about Raj, and something that I wasn't so familiar with and I'm keen to learn a little bit more about today, he has lived experience as a carer, and that experience started as a young carer, and from there it's never really stopped. He believes that providing care and support to someone is a privilege and is honoured to have been accorded this opportunity. He's passionate about respect, equity, equality, inclusion, treating everyone with dignity and accepting their values, preferences, choices without assumptions, presumptions, and judgment. And outside of work, he is a big Geelong fan, but he also loves spending time with his family and taking kids to activities, watching movies, playing games, just really that lovely connection with the people who are important in his life. Grace, who you're also going to meet today, is an 18-year-old carer from Ballarat. She's currently spending her gap year working in a cafe, and as a tutor, she helps care for her brother who is on the autism spectrum with an intellectual disability, and she's very passionate too about reality TV. Raj, great that you're here. Really wonderful that you're joining us. In your bio, learned that you were a young carer yourself. Tell me a little bit about how that background really sort of shapes how you connect with young carers in your work now.
Absolutely. Thank you, Evan. I think it's long story. I was quite little, and I was probably probably a few days old. I was informed by my parents that when my grandmother, my dad's mom, had a stroke. It was quite a dense stroke, and mom and dad decided that grandma would come and live with us so we can look after her. And that's really where my caring journey started. I didn't really know I was a carer, but as part of growing up, seeing grandmother there and mom and dad helping her, that was something obvious for me to take on to assist them in various tasks that were required. And that could be a lot of day-to-day tasks, like grandmother was not able to really look after herself at all. Some days were good days, but most days were bad days wherein she would need even help to sit up in bed or get out of bed or walk up to the toilet or the dining table and things like that. So it was, at that stage, it was like just part of day-to-day life. And mom and dad, they felt quite good being able to look after grandmother and provide her the care. And that's the kind of values that were imbibed in us too. Then that we are family, we support each other, with all our loved ones, wherever they are, and in whatever support they need. And that's just what you do. Growing up, so as a young carer, I didn't even know I was a young carer. That was just something we did. There were no support service. There was no support, no services available. There was no such thing as respite. You did whatever you did, and other family members came and helped whenever they could or at different times. But I could feel the difference that growing up, things were different. Like our family would not go on holidays as often as I would see my friends going out. Or there would be days when I couldn't go out to play with my friends because I had to be at home to help mom, because dad was at work and grandmother needed help. Or if mom and dad had to go somewhere, then I was their backup plan, respite, to stay at home to just give them an opportunity to go and do something else. Not really big social stuff, but attending to things that they needed to attend to as well. So all those things, even though it was quite a privilege and an honor, I didn't really feel it like that all the time back then as a young kid. As I grew up and got a bit older, things started to fall in place and I could understand what was happening. But it was quite overwhelming at that time. And not having anyone to talk to was quite challenging too. Or if I couldn't really share those feelings with mom and dad, from their perspective, it was, that's what we do. Like, I don't think even they understood that they needed that help or could get that support too. It was all things we did, and things we did with good intentions and good heart. No one really ever complained about it. But growing up, then I realized that perhaps if there was a little bit more help available, those moments when you are really going like, why am I doing this? Probably those moments would be less, or in those moments you could actually get that help from someone who could be there for you, even if it's a backup plan, plan B, plan C, whatever it is, somebody there to assist you with different things. And that really did shape a lot of things I did in the future going forward too, once that understanding started to develop.
Raj, just thinking about that with that experience, and thank you for sharing those insights and that experience that you had as well too of being a young carer. What's it like now then managing a carer service with such a formative experience of being a young carer and having that understanding? How have you sort of joined those two different worlds together?
I think it's the services that are offered through Carer Gateway, I think they're absolutely amazing in that sense that they're quite holistic. And the best part that I feel is having, for young carers to be able to have access to a young carer champion across the state. In all regions there's a young carer champion, not just in Ballarat, who can work with the young carers, who understands what their needs are. And really to be able to deliver that message to young carers that we're there for you, we get it. There would be times when if you're not able to share your feelings with somebody else, give us a call. We are there for you. We don't need to be intervening or interfering in your lives. Keep us on the back burner, but at least you are aware that we are there. So that, I think that is the biggest support, to be able to really tell the young carers that they are resilient. We are not there to take over their lives. Just there to help them plug the gaps wherever we possibly can, so they can keep doing what they're doing now. I think that is probably a big part of what we do. And then that also shapes further what supports and services we deliver through our team, a team of care support workers who really compassionate, really passionate about supporting carers across not just our region, but I think that's the same thing across the Caregiver Consortium, across the state. It's just a team full of amazing people, hundreds of people who are just sitting ready to support carers in their time of need.
That's so great, Raj. Thank you for providing that sensitive introduction into how young carers are supported in Ballarat, and also linking that with your experiences too. I'd like to bring Grace into the conversation now. And my first question for Grace, how's your gap year going?
Yeah, good. Thank you. I mean, obviously it's a bit limited, considering I can't really go anywhere, but no, it's been good. Been working, being able to spend a lot of time with my family, like that I wasn't already. But yeah, so it's been lovely.
Oh, that's good. I think they're always great things to do, and probably not the gap year that you imagined. I suppose, broadly speaking, not a year that anyone sort of imagined, but it'd be interesting to see how this year fits down the track. I'm a bit jealous that you took a gap year after finishing school. I wish that I did that. I think
yeah, no, I'm glad.
Yeah. Hey, Grace, tell me about the sort of supports that Ballarat has provided to you as a young carer. I'm really keen to sort of understand how Raj was talking about actually plays out for young carers themselves.
Yeah, so when I was about maybe like 12 or 13, one of the social workers from Ballarat Health Services just kind of mentioned that they run young carer activities during the school holidays. And, I was really shy. I just started high school and I was having trouble making friends. And so I was kind of like, oh, I guess I should go. And I was really nervous. And then, there were 4 of us, and we went to Dalesford and we made like little clay, like trinket boxes.
Cool.
And it was like by lunchtime, we were all talking and chatting, sitting around, having a great time. And I had never made friends that easily in my life, so it was really special. And then I kept doing that, 2 activities per school holidays up until COVID, really. And then we kept running Zoom ones as well. So it was really amazing to just have that group there, that we had the sort of the freedom to talk about, our family lives freely without feeling pressured to. So like if we just wanted to go there for a distraction, we could, but if we wanted to vent, we could do that as well. So it was just a really lovely, safe environment. And, we did so many things, little camps to like the Grampians, and we did abseiling and canoeing, or just going out for lunch and movies, just a lot of different activities that I never would have tried with this, with my family. So I was really lucky, and I still am lucky to access that service.
That's awesome. Really, really happy to hear that. And a bit of a similar question to what I asked Neil before. So thinking about those programs and meeting other young carers and that great time that you had, if you zoom out a bit, what sort of difference do you think that's made in your life?
So definitely in the earlier years, it was about that self-esteem, and just how I didn't really, no one knows who they are when they're in their young teens, but it really helped me just see who I was in a group space without being in that caring role. And yeah, it really increased my self-esteem. So that was a great benefit out of that. But, now the services have kind of changed as I've gotten older. So now I'm getting petrol vouchers so that I can continue, now that I've got my license, picking my brother up from school, or, a massage voucher, which doesn't seem that related to caring, but it's carving out that time to myself, that 45 minutes that I wouldn't have otherwise. So it's really, really important stuff that I'm getting out of accessing these services. Yeah.
That's absolutely brilliant. And we know that for most carers, regardless of in someone's age, that time to themselves is so important, and great to hear
Definitely.
that that's something which you've been able to work out a way to carve out. That's awesome. So for other young carers out there, what sort of advice would you give them? Would you encourage them also to reach out, to connect in with support services? What would you say if someone's a bit unsure about whether or not they should be accessing support, and they're a bit, yeah, they're a bit hazy about the details and identifying as a carer? What sort of general advice would you give to young carers who might be at the start of their awareness or understanding or identification of being a carer?
Yeah, I think I would absolutely recommend to every young carer that they do reach out. Obviously, it'll be different, like depending on where they are, but just call up Carers Gateway. That's always a good way to just get in contact with someone and see what's available. And I think that's part of the beauty of working with carers, is that the services can be tailored to everyone. So, what I'm accessing is going to be completely different to, the others in my area, let alone the others in the whole state. So it really does depend on the person, but like you've got nothing to lose, it's just, yeah. And the chances are you are going to have really positive experience if you just put yourself out there and say, hey, I'd like to see what kind of help there is for me. And it's not, admitting that you weak or you need to fix something. It's just saying like, this would make my life a little bit easier if I had some help. So yeah.
Hey, this is awesome to hear. Thank you so much, Grace, and thanks for taking the time to chat with us about your experiences. And also thank you to Raj as well for his insights and reflections as well. Often when Raj and I are talking, we're in the middle of various sort of planning discussions, and we'll be quite focused on looking at how services are getting out there. So really appreciated that time, Raj, for your insights and experiences as well, and for sharing those experiences too. So to Grace, to Raj, massive thank you for being part of today's seminar.
Thanks so much, Evan.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
And I'll throw it back to you, Cousin Tara. Weren't they great? What was it? Didn't we have a great group of speakers there?
Absolutely incredible. And yeah, it's so valuable having those young carers, Grace and Tennille, speaking today. It's, yeah, for me it's lovely. I see a lot of myself in them, and I really wish that I had been able to access a service like Carer Gateway when I was a bit younger. Yeah, beautiful speakers, so articulate, and so so much self-knowledge as well, and I love that.
Awesome. Yeah, me too. That's really, really lovely insights, lovely reflections, and I'll hand it to you to bring us through the last parts of today's webinar.
Thanks so much, Evan, and thank you for all your incredible work that you do at Carer Gateway as well. Wonderful. So it's now my pleasure to announce the official launch of the Young Carer campaign. To do this, we'd like to share with you a new clip that heads a small campaign targeting young carers. It's called Young Carers Are Not Alone. And speaking of the incredible work and the generosity of the young carers that have spoken for us today, this project would not be possible without the involvement of 3 young carers who are also joining us in attendance today, Robert, Taylor and Zachary, as well as our very own young carer engagement advisor, Sophia Tipping, animator Devon Kong, and marketing and communications senior advisor Dan Wells. The team have developed an animation to help promote Carer Gateway's work in this space. In the video, we hear directly from young carers what it means to be a carer and what advice they have for others. And while there would be difficulties speaking to the young carers on camera, it was still considered incredibly important that that for the message to resonate with young carers, their voices needed to be central in the video. It was also really key to acknowledge the participants by designing characters that bore some resemblance to the carers themselves, but also provided enough anonymity. We are very pleased with the end result. It's a powerful and heartwarming glimpse into the young carer experience. Enjoy.
My name is Robert and I am 13 years old. I care for my older brother.
My name is Taylor. I'm 16 years old. My caring role consists of looking after my brother Brayden, who is diagnosed with cerebral palsy.
My name is Zachary William. I'm 20 years old, and my caring role is I look after my sister with ADHD and autism. I support my sister with the daily routines of her life, making sure she does her shower, she studies, and the most important thing is eating.
Well, sometimes my brother really drains my mum out, so I have to cook and help with the cleaning.
I think the most challenging thing about being a carer is managing work, schooling,
and just making sure that you are right mentally and emotionally.
I actually didn't know I was a carer until I was in year 11, and that was when everything changed. I got so much support, I got so much guidance.
My message to young carers is to make sure that you care for yourself, because you are a very important person in the process of helping your loved ones out.
I think the most important thing I'd say to young carers is you're not alone.
There's always someone that will listen. Hard as it might be to find them, there's always someone that will listen.
Thank you so much. What an incredible presentation, and we'd love for you to share this video to help raise awareness of the challenges young carers face and to ensure that they receive the support that they require. You can find it on the Merry Health social media as well as YouTube. Yeah, we'd love for you to help us circulate it. If you are strapped for time, don't worry, we will share the links to this campaign with some info about all the services mentioned today and other services available to young carers, to all of those that are registered to today's webinar. So don't stress if you missed out on some of those details. So now we've come to the point in our session today where it's your opportunity to ask some questions of our speakers. We've had some incredibly valuable questions coming through the chat already. If you have a question for any one of our speakers today, for Evan, Nat, Tanil, Raj, or Grace, please type those questions in. We'll do our best to get to your question, and our tech wizards behind the scenes will do their best to communicate those questions to me for our speakers. So I might invite Evan back for a moment, and we have some questions here. So our first questions are for Tanil and Grace, actually, Evan. This person would like to know what advice Tanil and Grace would give to teachers or youth workers who know someone they think is a young carer. So I'll ask you to facilitate that one.
Yeah, no problems at all. So that's a really good question that's come through, or recommendations relating to how teachers or youth workers should be connecting with young carers. So Tanil, I see that you put yourself on, turned on your camera there. I'm wondering whether you had any advice that you'd like to give teachers or youth workers who might be tuning in, really think about when considering how they might be engaging with other young carers.
Yeah, so I've done a bit of a wardrobe change because I sit at school, as you could hear by the bell before. I think the most important part was I didn't know I was a young carer until early this year. And the reason I actually found out was because there was a poster in my health centre talking about being a young carer. And I was like, that might be me. Let me, look it up and do the research. So I think for teachers and support workers, I think recommending to services that you know of is really helpful. And that's definitely what was really helpful for me, and maybe just checking in just on a more personal level and seeing what support you can offer.
I like that, really making those personal connections, trying to get that understanding. I like that a lot. Grace, any insights or advice that you might have for teachers or for youth workers or anyone out there in the community who's working with young carers?
I think that one of the important parts is maybe trying not to single out the young carers in front of their peers, because that can make them feel more othered and more different than they probably already do with their friends. So I think that the checking up in that is good in private, and then I guess you could educate the whole class or the whole group or whoever on what a young carer is without being like that kid there, you know, like,
Yeah.
so just, yeah, making it a really general thing, and then having also that space for a one-on-one with each carer.
I like that. I like that a lot. Don't you, Cousin Tara?
I love that. We actually have a follow-up question to that if you want to reflect on this a little bit, to Neil and Grace. Similarly, what advice would you give to other young carers who may be reluctant to receive services?
I think, I guess, just do a bit of reflection on what you think that would benefit you, I suppose, because as Grace mentioned earlier, it's not a sign of weakness to reach out and ask for support, because you've got to remember that in some ways you are disadvantaged and you are worthy of receiving support to, improve your well-being, and that will also translate into your caring role as well. So it's really important that you yourself are keeping in good shape so that you can support others. But I suppose, yeah, reflect, see what sort of services you think might benefit you, and
Love it.
there it goes again. And yeah, there's really no harm in reaching out just over the phone. You don't have to go in and speak to anyone or anything like that. That was my experience anyway. So yeah, there's no harm in trying.
Really, really great. Anything you want to add to that one,
Yeah,
Grace?
I completely agree with what Tanil said. Yeah. Just also, like, it is about just protecting your future self. Like, you might think you don't need help now, but you have, like, as we've seen over the last couple of years, you have no idea what's going to happen, in the next week, let alone the next few years. So yeah, getting a little bit of help now can protect you in the future. Yeah.
Nice one.
Amazing.
And then I
Sorry,
can
go
see,
on.
Cousin Tara, that we have a question that's coming from Shuri, and it's a bit similar to the last question that I was asking Grace, and it's around having those conversations with people who don't really identify as being carers. And I think that's a really topical question that's come through from Shuri. It's a question that we hear a lot, that there's many individuals, all sorts of ages, who don't so much like the label of being a carer. So Tanil, for you, what would you say, or how would you have a conversation with someone who you see might be having a few difficulties in their experiences, but don't want to identify as being a carer, don't like the label, and really not looking for any form of support? How would you go about having that conversation? And by the way, don't worry at all about the cars and the trucks in the background. That's just very much the nature of 21st century Zoom meetings. I'm at my girlfriend's house at the moment, and the most unusual sound that I think I get here is frogs. So every now and then they'll just pipe up, and no one has any ideas what the groaning and grunting is in the background. So it's quite wonderful hearing where people are and the day-to-day sounds coming in. So Tanil, for yourself, how would you go about having those conversations with people who aren't identifying as being a carer?
Yeah, no, I can really resonate with that, because a lot of people don't feel like they are a carer. It's just something that you do. So it's important to remember that you don't need to label yourself. You don't need to label yourself as a carer to necessarily even receive support. I think just you need to be confident in your position and in yourself, I think. And when I have conversations with other people who might not identify as young carers, I think you still have so much in common, even if you don't use the same labels. So there's totally things you can relate about, even if you don't call yourself a carer.
They're great insights. And Grace, anything else that you wanted to add? I know we had a similar sort of conversation at the end of our chat, but any more thoughts on your end?
I think just, it can be a bit tricky using the label carer if you don't feel like your caring is, as hard or as intense as someone else's might be. And I feel like, just accessing these services can help you come to terms with the fact that you do count as a carer, just because you might not be the sole carer or the primary carer, all forms of caring count. So I think it's important to keep that in mind.
Awesome reflections there. Thank you again to the two of you, Tanil and Grace. And yeah, really have loved this conversation so much, Cousin Tara.
Thanks so much. Thanks to all three of you. I think we might have time for one more question, and this one is actually it's for you, Evan, and also for Raj. And the attendee would like to know, what should young carers expect once they are linked with the Carer Gateway?
Oh, let's throw this straight to Raj. Raj is the one at the driver's seat who's putting the supports in place. Raj, what can young carers expect?
Sure. You can expect a really smooth journey. We'll take you through. We work with you throughout your to us understand your needs. Once we receive the referral, a young carer champion or young carer worker would make contact with the young carer and family members, whoever else might be involved. If there's other carers too, to then really understand their needs, help them get an understanding of what services and supports are available, and also then to work with them to develop like an action plan to let's address what needs need to be addressed at that stage, and then put some actions in place accordingly. So those could be identifying day-to-day support services, like have been mentioned in the past. Somebody might need assistance with, could just be transport assistance to get to appointments or other things, or it could be respite needs, planned respite or emergency respite. It could be linking in with the in-person peer support program in partnership with Little Dreamers. It could be some coaching sessions, or it could be organizing counseling services for the young carers. So we work with them throughout that to organize those services in a person-centered way to make sure that it meets their need appropriately, and then also work with them to then follow up on those services if they are actually meeting the needs adequately or not, and then keep reviewing the situation.
And I should just say too, Cousin Tara, that regardless of where you are as a carer, that's the exact experience you should be expecting to where you are in the States as well. So really you want to make sure that people know that those key steps to entering the gateway and connecting in with the gateway are the same from wherever a young carer is. And so what Raj has spelled out, which is wonderful to hear, applies across all of Victoria.
Amazing. Thank you so much to both of you. Yeah, it sounds really substantial and really individual focused. And I thank you both for answering that question for us. That is all the time we have today. It's I hope you've taken it all in, enjoyed this session with us today, this webinar. It's been chock full of valuable info, resources, experiences, but please be assured that there will be more details to come. So do keep an eye on your inboxes, all of those that have registered for the event today. We will be following up with you. Also, I believe Sophia has been posting the Carer Gateway details a few times in the chat, so you can scroll up now and have a look for that. But to round off this wonderful event today, I would like to thank all of our speakers, all of those involved in organising and promoting the event today, and especially to Little Dreamers and Ballarat Health Services for supporting this event. Thank you for coming out to learn and support young carers today. One last time, Sophia's just posted the details in the chat there. But we hope you enjoy the rest of National Carers Week. I'm Cousin Tara. Thank you all so much for joining us today, and stay safe. Stay safe, everybody. Thank you all so much.